संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaaya te Namaha. Readings from Meditation and Spiritual Life, Chapter 23, Mystic Worship. Our next point is Need for a Holy Personality. Very easily, the modern man says, "Oh, God is everywhere." But when he tries to think of what God is really like, he finds he has no clear-cut idea. Most of the people have only vague and hazy ideas about God. The so-called worshipper of the formless God, when he comes home from church, simply busies himself with his body and its relations. He is unable to rise to the plane of the spirit and have dealings with an indefinite abstract being about whom he talks much. When we have got strong body consciousness, when we take our personality to be the only reality, we need a holy personality for our spiritual practice and growth. On a lower plane, the absolute becomes abstract, although it is real on a higher plane. And remaining on the lower plane of form and personality as we do, we cannot counteract all bad and unwelcome pictures and thoughts that rise in the mind by means of abstract ideas. We must be able to raise opposite good and holy pictures and thoughts to counteract them. And here comes the necessity of a holy personality in whom we find our highest ideas realized. We need a definite holy form so long as we consider our forms to be real. But at the same time, we must find a connecting link between the form and the formless. Form is only a manifestation of the formless. The holy personality is a manifestation of the formless principle that stands at the back of all. The holy personality serves as the connecting link between the finite and the infinite, and understood this way, it satisfies the head and the heart. The intellect wants the infinite, the feelings want the finite, and in the holy personality we find both, if we see it in the right light, that is, as manifestation of the principle of which the personality is always conscious. In calling up this holy form, one may take the help of the sound symbol, Om, and this may be used first with reference to the form and then also to the formless. Usually, however, a verbal formula called mantra imparted by a qualified guru is used. The aspirant must have faith in the guru and in the power of the mantra. While doing japa, along with the repetition of the holy name, the devotee should also think of the form of the Ishtam or of the formless associated with the sound symbol. The center of consciousness is part of the infinite consciousness that pervades our entire being, nay, the whole universe, and exists even beyond it without any limitations. First, the sound and thought go together, and then the sound gets merged in the divine idea and consciousness. As you go on with your practice, you will realize more and more what all this means. There are more approaches than one to the divine. We too accept Christ, but as you know, being the followers of Sri Ramakrishna, we regard Christ as one of the incarnations of the divine, not the sole and only incarnation, as the Christians believe. The whole universe, including ourselves, is a manifestation, ordinary, imperfect manifestation. But Christ, Buddha, Ramakrishna, we regard them all as perfect, special manifestations of the eternal Logos, the eternal word of the Vedas and the Bible. This idea is common to both Easterners and Westerners. These perfect manifestations are meant for showing the light and truth to imperfect manifestations. The Logos or Word is the one impersonal fact. In its grosser manifestations, it becomes personal or human. These manifestations may be many, but that which manifests itself is one. We may accept all the greatest manifestations or one or more of them, but all of us must be true to the eternal one that incarnates itself from time to time for the good of the world. If a holy personality, as distinct from the principle behind it, appeals to you, you may worship and meditate on him. But this should be a stepping stone leading to the realization of the principle. In due course, the Absolute, the impersonal being you are trying to meditate on, will reveal to you that it is He who is also manifest as a personality, that He, the transcendent, is also the immanent, and He is to be recognized in His perfect manifestations as also in all imperfect manifestations, in the great prophets as well as in ordinary men and women. In this matter, there is no question of the East or the West, for the divine transcends all limitations. The sound is a symbol of divinity. The form also is a symbol of divinity. We take the help of both the symbols to call up the divine consciousness. With the help of the Holy Personality, we try to realize the principle manifesting itself as name and form. And we begin to feel that we too are manifestations of that principle. After getting a glimpse of the immanent in the Holy Personality, we get a glimpse of it in ourselves and also in other people. We have to learn to see the divine in all forms, good and bad, without, of course, losing the distinction between good and bad. Then the bad ones cannot affect us at all. We should try to see the divine not only in the forms that lie in the physical world, but also in those that rise in the mind. For those who do not like to dwell on the form, the only way is to recognize the divine in oneself and also in others. The body is a temple in which dwells the soul, and God is the soul of the soul. This has already been discussed. However, few people can hold on to this high ideal for long. Conclusion. The word worship in Hinduism thus means something different from what we hear about it in other religions. It means upasana, which, as already explained, means approaching the divine step by step until the self attains identity with Him. It means mystic worship. One begins with physical images, then shifts to mental images and the repetition of divine names, and finally to the union of the soul with the Supreme Spirit. Through a graded course of disciplines, body consciousness and egotism are progressively reduced, and the potential divinity of the soul manifests more and more. In this march of the soul, it passes through several stages and overcomes many obstacles until it attains perfection. Japa is the best form of worship suited to the modern age. Japa should be done in a spirit of mystic worship. It is only when this spirit is lost that it becomes mechanical. Very often, people forget this central point. Japa should be practiced as a higher form of worship. The attitude of love and adoration must be there to make japa an effective spiritual discipline. No doubt, even mechanical repetition of the divine name has some value, as the divine name itself has its intrinsic power. But when japa is done with devotion as a form of worship, our whole soul, mind, and body respond to it. This is the secret of attaining success in spiritual life through japa. One point is always to be borne in mind. We should lay stress on the soul more than the body, on God more than the soul. The body should be looked upon only as the dwelling house of the soul, and the soul itself should be looked upon as the seat of God. We must identify ourselves with our souls and then try to establish contact with God, who is the soul of all souls. If we do not stress this point, then our whole life becomes a kind of body worship. Those who look down upon the worship of a holy personality and regard it as a kind of idolatry should know that it is far better than the worship of their own body. True devotees, on the other hand, see the divine immanent in themselves and in all beings. Their whole life thus becomes a worship of the Supreme Spirit, and they enjoy supreme peace and fulfillment. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.